Hello and welcome to another episode of DC Alliance, Chapter 52. With me, as always, is Clay. Clay, how you doing today?
I am doing pretty good. We were just talking about how I had a small little misstep at work. First day back during the actual weekdays. I've been working weekends for quite some time. Just shows that you do kind of get laxed when you work less. So just need to get back in the groove of things. Thankfully, nobody was hurt or severely hurt or anything like that. So yeah, that was the biggest thing that happened today as far as my day goes. But just looking over the news stories that we have to talk about. Going to be talking a lot about animation, surprisingly, and then just relaxing. What about you?
Yeah, I had a relaxing weekend. My hockey team is in the playoffs right now, so it's a up and down experience for me. Uh, I won't put down anyone that actually has had a emotionally abusive relationship, but for a fan, this is pretty close to it. Like I haven't seen any success. It's been heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. It's crazy. Just a fun fact: my father, who passed down rooting for this team to me, has only seen them win the championship once when he was 8 years old on a black and white TV because it was in 1967. So,
Wow.
uh, yeah, don't even, if anyone rational mind would not, it's the definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But it's still fun, ups and downs. But besides that, not much, Clay. Ready to talk about some animated stuff. Feel like we're going to be asked superhero discussions there for the first part of this show, and I love it. So before we get to this, let me do the quick network plug and get that out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with podcasts 7 days a week, 9 in total. On Mondays is World's Finest True Believers. On Tuesdays is this show, DC Alliance. On Wednesdays is Marvel Alliance. On Thursdays is a trio of podcasts, Slice of Film, Star Wars Alliance, and Ranger Alliance. Ranger Alliance is moving to Mondays bi-weekly with World's Finest True Believers on the 31st of May. On Fridays is Superhero Discussions. On Saturdays and Sundays is Weird Science Comics, DC, and Marvel Roundup. We also have a Patreon account, 2 tiers, $1 tier and $5 tier. $1 tier is basically like the tip jar. You're just trying to help us out a little bit. And the $5 tier is where you get your extras. You get your ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive episodes like The Last Ronin being released this week. Finally, part 3. So we will assemble the crew and talk about that. Hopefully, I have a test on the 28th, so anytime after that, I should be fair game. Also, just one other note, listeners. On Monday nights, DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel, and on Tuesday nights, Marvel Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel. So that's everything. Thanks everyone for supporting the network. And Clay,
Well,
take
yeah.
it away, my
Speaking
friend.
speaking of the network, Travis over there at Geekverse is actually having a charity stream. They're actually going to have it on June 5th. And I've been trying to stay up and listen to a lot of their live stuff. Just here recently, they did an Army of the Dead, and I stayed up for literally an hour and 30 minutes watching that, and then I fell asleep for literally the last 18 minutes. I was actually really mad. And I was just listening to it before we went live. But I will say this, it's really funny how Kirkland is defending his his whole streak and champion over at the when they're doing the gaming stuff. But for some reason, Snell is not having to defend his title at all. I just think that's a
For
little funny.
for what?
So
For
so Kirkland.
trivia?
Well, no.
Okay,
For
I was going to say I thought you was strutting
no
around with
for
that
for
one trivia
console
title.
gaming.
Okay.
So Kirkland, he holds the title for sports games, and Snell holds it for overall gaming. So whether it be fighting or anything else, it's just the way they do it over the Gigverse. And I will say I think that's a little unfair because you have your subcategories, right? And you're doing all this, especially with Kirkland being the number one A dog over there in sports, and Travis is kind of just like holding back so that way he doesn't have to defend his. I think that's kind of BS.
Ooh, you were playing some like Floyd Mayweather dodging, having to defend his title,
Yeah, he's
just
just
trying to
dancing
hold
around
on to
the
it as
ring.
long as possible.
Yeah, he's dancing around the ring. I think that's a little silly.
I first of all, like the stark differences, because if I were to lose in anything, say Mario Paint, like my girlfriend and I play a lot of Nintendo 64. She was a absolute like bonkers Mario Kart player, which surprised me because I thought I was really good, and she beat me the first few times. Did not take that lightly. Took 2 days off. Did not tell her about taking those 2 days off. Played Mario Kart total of probably 11 hours, and then challenged her the following day and absolutely wallpapered her. That's just the way it is.
Oh,
So
speaking of Mario Kart, I got a random call from my uncle and grandmother this week. My grandmother went to my uncle and said, "Hey, how much can I get for this?" My uncle turns around from his computer chair and sees that my grandmother is holding a still sealed original packaging Mario Kart 64 with the original red Nintendo seal. And he knows that I used to work at a comic shop. We used to grade things. We used to appraise toys and all of that. So he immediately calls me and he's like, "Hey, Graham has this. What can she get it for?" And so I do just a little bit of research. That game, still sealed, is going anywhere from $2,000 to $12,000.
Clay, I'm big in the game, like that retro game and reselling and like a lot of that. And I tell you that the market is so bonkers out of whack right now. Like that could go up two to
Well,
three
well,
times
and
what
then
it's
and then
worth.
Joe from Ranger Alliance, he's like, "Clay, I think that can go for a lot." And he just
Yeah,
searched it up on eBay. The very first offer on eBay is $72,000. That
yeah.
guy is living in a dream world. Like, I'm sorry, that anybody can make an offer on eBay.
No,
The only thing that matters is the people who are buying.
Clay. Those kind of games now get rated by like WADA and like
That's
the
insane.
and they go into auctions like original Mario 1, like the original NES Mario
Yeah.
1 went for almost $1 million. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's
What?
the game. Yeah, the graded game thing has gone to. It's the same thing as these
Well,
NFTs,
and
like of
that's
moments.
that's what I really wanted to do is I told my grandmother, I said, if I sell this for you, we're probably gonna have to grade it. And
Oh, you're
I asked everybody in town, and nobody is willing to appraise that item.
you're gonna have to send
So
it.
so we have to appraise it ourselves, guessing on how much we think it's worth, then send it to go get graded, and then we'll probably lose about $150 just because of the grading price and
Oh yeah,
how much we think it is, and then they'll bring it back graded.
but
But
you
it will be
could
worth it,
you could
potentially.
theoretically like multiply what you think when you do your own grading. You could theoretically multiply that by because before, like I would never have thought a Mario 1 from NES would go for not like 900,000. Never in my wildest dreams. So it all depends. It could be from like a batch that was rarely sold. It could be like there's
Yeah,
so many things. It's
right
awesome.
behind me. I can't really point to it. I can right there. I used to work at a comic shop. I have the price guide book and an appraisal book. Um, I have no idea how to appraise games. So I was like, I guess I can kind of go off of what we do for comics. I'm not entirely sure. But Nathan, to ask about the cap, it's really funny. And that actually is going to move us to our first topic of today. This rumor that is going around everywhere, literally everywhere. I cannot go on to any place that I usually go to: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. It is all over the place for some god awful reason. Everybody thinks that Disney is trying to buy DC Comics and all of its rights, whether that be merchandise, freaking toys, video games, movies, TV shows, and people, it's not happening. So the reason why I'm wearing this cap is I'm starting to go a little bit more into TikTok. And so I responded to this person and I feel so bad. I don't even feel bad. I don't
No,
feel
you
bad
don't.
for this person. So this person made a TikTok about the rumored Disney buying DC from Discovery. This man had 50k likes on his video. It was trending. I responded, somebody who has less than 200 followers, and I've never been trending before. I made one video saying, "Hey, stop with the rumor, it's not true." He responded to that video saying, "Oh, well, I said it was a rumor, I never said it was confirmed." And he said it's been proven by several sources that this is going to happen. I make a second video showing that the first result in searching Disney DC Comics is "We got this covered." And I said, "We got this covered. We all know this. We know this, that they are a laughable, just non-professional website. They are basically the Onion for pop culture. That's what they are." Within the hour, that other guy's video was deleted. He deleted his own video. His video was trending and it was probably making him money, but because I made him look like a fool, he decided to delete it. And I've had to comment on several other people on TikTok saying, "Hey, this is BS. They're not going to do it." And for one reason and one reason only. Discovery just landed a gold mine with the potential of billions of dollars. And I'll tell you why. Batman, not DC Comics, Batman by himself has a revenue of $27 billion a year.
Is that just in the comics?
No, that
Okay.
is toys, that is comics, that is everything merchandising, TV and movies. $27 billion. Why would they just be like, "Hey, Disney, can you take this away from us?" Why? Why would anybody in their right mind do that?
No, I don't believe it's going to happen either. And "We Got This Covered" is the most ironic name of all time because they don't have anything covered ever. They've never covered anything ever. When they tried to put that name in their banner, their computer should explode because it's just sheerly not the fact. But Discovery may look to sell just the comics portion of what DC, because they may not have any plans for that. They may not have any plans to like try to make any money after that. I doubt it. I say they just keep doing what they're doing, fund publishers, and just taking over that way just to roll it in. But they could sell it if they feel like it's like comics is not like a way to go going forward, because they're all about streaming and content. So if they can somehow sell the comics portion only, maybe I could see it. But I also don't see a player coming up. I don't think Disney values Marvel's comics enough that they would want to go and acquire DC's comics just to put them together in comics. I don't think so.
There was an article, I want to say at the very end of last year, the very end of 2020, an article came out from Bleeding Cool. Now, a lot of people will say Bleeding Cool is almost like We Got This Covered. But I will say they broke a story that was actually legitimate, which raised their legitimacy on a whole new level. Now, at the end of 2020, they said that there was speculation on DC or AT&T wanting to sell individual rights for comics to individuals, not necessarily entirely big corporations like Image or Dark Horse or Marvel. They were going to sell it to individuals like a Robert Kirkman or a Jimmy Palmiotti and things like that. And so there was a lot of joking going around. I feel like it's still something that is kind of not necessarily realistic because, again, when you look at just within the last 4 years, Tom King at one point was selling over 100,000 copies of his Batman run. In retrospect, that's a lot of money. Who can afford to buy the rights for Batman comics? You know, I
Yeah,
don't think
I
I
think you're
don't think
right.
a single individual can do that. And as far as selling it to another company, yeah, like technically, Netflix has published comics. They have
Yeah.
published Stranger Things. They own Millar World. So anything that Mark Millar, I'm pretty sure, now publishes, they're always going to have a Netflix banner on it. So I don't know. Maybe it can happen. Maybe it won't. I think it would
Also,
be.
can I
Oh,
say
go
one
ahead.
other thing? Who's to say that one of these streaming services, even the Discovery one, doesn't take from the DC Universe app model and have a comic reader on their app? So like I said, there are things, but I'm more in your camp. Like I don't ever see that happen at Disney. And also, you gotta have it so that Discovery doesn't believe that comics are viable at the same time as another company believes that comics can be very profitable in the future. And for those two to intertwine, I don't see that happening
Well,
with
no,
the way things are
especially,
going.
and I will fight this argument until I'm blue in the face. When you have Shonen Jump, when you have manga proving that the written media, the comic book media, can literally save an economy for an entire country, businesses are going to look at that and they're like, how can we do that? And if they have something like DC Comics, they're going to say, okay, we're going to keep this in case we can make that happen. That's the smartest thing you can do.
I agree with you. It's better as an asset that you're not even using instead of giving it to someone else to like mine. You're 100% right on that fact.
Yeah.
Like until you know what to do with it, even throw it in the closet. Like I don't know who has the Dragon Ball rights. We were talking about this maybe doing Patreon at some point, but even if it's someone that don't know what they're doing, throw it in the closet and hold on to it until you figure out what to do with it because it's far more valuable than let's say, oh, I guess we don't know how to make a movie. Let's sell the rights to this person. And then 2 years later, you get this hit streaming show that everyone loves and got to have. And then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
come on.
Now,
So,
don't get me wrong. I feel like there's a lot of those instances where you're like, hey, we don't know what to do with this property. And so at that point, we think it's worthless. So we're going to sell it off to somebody. And maybe they are able to do something with it. That is entirely plausible with any of these factors that we're playing with. But right now, with DC Comics, because they have quite possibly the biggest, most popular comic book character in the world, which I don't agree with, but the world thinks that he is Batman. Like, you're not just going to give that away. You're
no,
just not.
actually, Clay, you probably like a partnership with Magna, like a Magna would be good for Batman. Like you got to try and get him into other markets that don't know him. And ultimately, the real thing is you
Oh,
just need good stories. You
well,
need
there
good
was a
stories.
story last year. There was a news story last year that there is going to be a Joker manga and a Batman manga coming out within, I think, this year and next year. So we will be seeing that sooner
Yeah.
rather than later.
But that's just the market, like you said, if it boomed as well as what you're talking about there, like whoever owns these comic IPs would be foolish not to uh, try and get into that field. But I also just want to say one other thing before we move on is I really love multiverse, Murphy's multiverse. For Marvel, he's my go-to. Like everything he puts, I have utmost trust in. But what I do appreciate is he put out this story with suspect sources. We'll say at the best. We'll say right now,
Mhm.
uh, and then he retracted it and put out a tweet saying, "I retracted it. I deleted it. The sources like are not good enough for put out." I appreciate that so much more than with 99% of the other scoopers and me and bloggers and that they will not retract. They will not delete. Like Grace, for example, anyone who loves Grace is absolute. Like you got your head in your sand because she's right on one thing out of 100. She'll just take a handful, throw it at the wall, and one or two things will be right, and she'll be like, "See, I got credibility. I have sources." And I'm like, what about the 98 other things that you were completely wrong on that you never once addressed again, saying, because I would even appreciate my bad, my sources were wrong on that one. I appreciate that more than I'm just going to ignore the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into our next topic, let's go ahead and take an ad break because I know we'll
Yes.
talk a little bit more about this.
Good catch.
Again, we do not choose the ads. We do not choose the volume. So go ahead and turn the volume down just a bit so that way it doesn't blow out your eardrums. And we will be right back. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yep.
And we're back. All right. So the next topic, like you said, we're basically on superhero discussions here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of animation news here.
And I'm loving every bit of it.
Let's start with quite possibly the first two small ones, just because there's not a whole lot of information on any of these, but
No.
there's two of them that we can really talk about, and then the other two are just like, it's happening.
And there's a main one that we're going to speculate about the most. Let's be honest with listeners. It's the background. It's the show cover. It's probably the one we're going to talk about the most, at least for animated stories.
So the first one, My Adventures with Superman, is going to be debuting on HBO Max and Cartoon Network at the exact same time. This is for children. Like, this is being aimed at for kids, which I personally do not have any issue with whatsoever. No. I'm actually really excited about this because Jack Quaid from The Boys is going to be is going to be voicing Clark Kent / Superman. I'm really excited about this. I know some people don't necessarily, they saw the image for what the animation will look like, and they were just like, yeah, it's not for me. There were some assholes out there that said, hey, I don't like it when women don't look like women, and I don't like it when people race bend my favorite characters. And I'm telling you right now, your favorite character is not Jimmy Olsen. You don't care. Somebody. You don't care. Lickety split about Jimmy Olsen. You're just a racist. I'm sorry. That's just how it goes.
I'm going to defend the 0.01% of people that actually bought those comics in the 50s and 60s, that Jimmy Olsen and his pal Superman. I'm going to defend them. There might be 50 of them in this world. They may love it.
There is going to be
even that it shouldn't be, because you still have those to go back to. Like we always talk about all these, when you make changes to these things, you will always have Jimmy Olsen looking whatever way you want it, like whatever way you liked him before. That doesn't change in things you already love. Like, that stuff is lunacy to me, Clay. I don't even understand how you can even complain about that. Like Chris says,
who cares what they think? Yeah. Like it was just annoying that people have to argue this statement of like people trying to go out there and saying that this Lois Lane doesn't look like a woman. I'm sorry, if you look at her face and see, hey, that is probably Lois Lane.
Just going to throw that out. Lois Lane. Yes, I never thought that for a second.
Kids, teach your parents that are arguing this. You learn context clues when reading. The article states Clark Kent, Lois Lane, and Jimmy Olsen. Who are the three people in the picture? Oh, well, I'm guessing the guy that looks most like Superman is going to be Superman. And I'm pretty sure the guy with the camera is not Lois Lane. I'm probably guessing that's Jimmy Olsen. So the other one that's left is Lois Lane. Get a freaking education, you stupid. Okay, anyway.
Or read the title, because I'm going to be honest with you, listeners. If you're watching this, forget this all about Superman's point of view. Chances are, from the title of the show, you're not going to get it from Superman's point of view. He's going to be not the person that you see it from. You're going to see it from Lois or Jimmy's point of view. My assumption is Lois.
I kind of feel like the way this is going to go, as well as the Batman show that we are going to be talking about, is almost going to be almost like an anthology. And I feel like anthologies are very popular, especially within the last 2 years.
I don't see it for this show, but for Batman, I can definitely see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like this show is, like you said earlier, kids oriented for sure. So I
Mhm.
feel like that's going to be more of a like just like you don't need to watch episode 4 and episode 7 like to like you can watch them at any point in time. You know what I mean? Like I feel
Yeah.
like that's what they'll have going for that. Yeah.
So our second piece of news, which is animation technically, but it's actually a feature film. We got some more news on DC League of Super Pets that's going to be directed by James Gunn. We got that information from Fandom last year. Uh, the Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, is going to be voicing Crypto the Superdog. How do you feel about this, Travis?
Uh, I can never do the eyebrow on the other side. This side is
You can't do the eyebrow?
I can do it on this side,
Oh, there you go. You're good. Yeah,
not
same
this
thing.
side. But I'm excited about this. This probably won't be for me. Like, won't be my jam. Who knows though? It depends on how they go with the like the whole super pits. If it's comedic and the voice cast, I've heard that from The Rock that the voice cast is going to be like out of this world. So
All I request is that it is nothing like the movie Pets. I found that movie to be a snores fest. I did not like it whatsoever. I understand that it's a family friendly like kids show. So is this, but as a teenager going into my like early adult years, I sat down and watched Crypto the Superdog on Cartoon Network. These are characters that I enjoy, so I'm still going to watch them. When I saw this news, I was like, okay, well, that's a choice. I understand that The Rock broke out into voice acting with Moana,
yeah,
and Maui was a character. He it was a fun movie. I wouldn't expect him to still pursue voice acting, and I'm just surprised that he landed this role. So I do want to see who else is going to be in this movie. I pray that Kevin Hart is not in this movie because they're just going to stick those two together, and it's just I was not a big fan of them like always like making a movie every other year or so for
I
like
will.
3 years.
I love them together. So
Oh no, I
they're
can't
just
stand them together. It's
they're
so
just
annoying.
I really enjoy them. So it's just treat your own there. But I for this too, I just hope that since The Rock is attached to this DC project, I hope it doesn't take 12 years to get off the ground. Because his only other DC project has taken. He was
Yeah,
attached to that back in '07, and he's just starting to film now. So let's hope that we get a quicker one. But I hope this is enjoyable for the audience that it's intended for. I don't think it'll be for me, but I will check it out for sure. Just at very
yeah.
least, just to sample it. But I'm really excited to talk about the next thing, Clay, because and glad that Chris. I don't know if Chris is still in chat, but he was before. We're getting a Injustice animated movie, which
Yes.
I
So
mean,
I need
so
to talk to
excited.
you about this because again, me being a new TikTok sensation, not really. Um, but there is a very, very popular TikTok personality by the name of Straw Hat Goofy. He's a little bit bigger into the Disney and Marvel stuff, but he did make a video on Injustice. And he said that he wants the movie to be not based off the video game, but based off of the 5-year comic book run. And I totally agree, except for it should not be a movie. I understand that they've announced it as a movie, but there is still time to change their mind. I am going to watch this either way because I love animation. I will always buy their animated movies. I unfortunately wasted my money on Enter the Dragon or Soul of the Dragon or whatever it was called.
Yeah,
But if they were to make this a HBO Max original series based off of the entire context of the 5 years leading up to the video game and even the 30 issues of the Injustice 2 comic, that I feel like would be so worth it because that is, Travis Snell and Joe and almost everybody in the chat now is mocking me over this whole thing about content. HBO Max needs content or whatever this new thing is going to be.
Stop, Clay. We it's been like 3 days of not that word hasn't been said in the chat.
Oh, that's a lie. No, Chris said that I need to make more content on TikTok.
Okay, let me rephrase that. There was no content frenzy in our chat in the last 3 days. Like where 18 people said content.
Yes.
I've been so excited about that. I've just been putting my head in sand, saying just don't say it. They'll find the next word. Snell's already changed his name to the new thing that he's on to. So if we just like let it ride, this whole content annoyance will ride right out to the sunset. We'll get the occasional Chris jumping in and just saying it for be a little shit because he loves to do that, and I can already see him in the content. See, I said content instead of comments. I see him in the comments talking about content.
DC content, hashtag content. Yeah, but it's true. It is 100% true. And here's the reason why. So, me and my wife have a family friend coming to visit next month. And during this time, she has HBO. She found out that she had HBO Max for free. And so she is wanting an HBO Max list of things to watch. I went into the section for HBO Max originals. I understand that we're only a year in for HBO Max. That is such a small amount of HBO Max originals. There's like nothing there. Even outside of DC. Like I know we are a DC podcast, but there's still hardly anything. You need to pick that stuff up. You need to want to make original content. So I feel like the only way people are going to stay subscribed to your service is if you have them waiting for something like a series that potentially has 5+ seasons. So I think it would be a smarter ordeal if Injustice was an HBO Max original series.
Well, so when we were talking about this when we first got this news, your initial thing to me was perfect, which is everybody is head over heels backflipping crazy about Invincible.
Yes,
why would you do that?
It needs to do that with that. Compete.
Yeah. But I tell you, the only thing about that is there is a definite end to the Injustice storyline, whereas Kirkman's already said he might change it, and so I don't know if you have to adapt and change some of the end maybe. But
well, even with Injustice, I think Injustice is written very, very well. I mean, you went to World's Finest True Believers to review it
3 times.
3 times.
Still got to come back for 2 more.
If HBO Max was smart, even with this, and I know they will consult Tom Taylor. And if they consult Tom Taylor, maybe Tom Taylor is writing the script or the mock-up script, who knows, or at least the storyline or the storyboards. They could do the exact same thing with the series. They could have Tom Taylor rewrite whatever he needs to rewrite or keep the same, whatever he wants to keep the same to make it where it can be new freaking audience, general audience friendly, but at the same time still keeping some of those batshit crazy moments of the series. Like one thing that I would absolutely love, he is my all-time favorite Lantern, and I hated that he got KO'd like before anything happened. But like if they were to animate, and spoilers for the Injustice comic, skip 15 seconds ahead if you don't want to hear this. Ready? 3, 2, 1. If they animated Kyle Rayner getting pulled apart in the middle of space, being butt-ass naked, like, holy shit. Like, that would be freaking insane.
What I have the hard time with for this even getting made is them getting past the first tragic thing that happens. Superman killing Lois and his unborn baby. So, just
I
showing
thought you were going
that.
to talk. I thought you were going to talk about Joker shooting Jimmy Olsen in the face.
Oh no, Jimmy Olsen was shot by some random dude. So I mean, like in live action. So
That's true.
that means little to me. Especially like I said, especially when you read the rest of Injustice and note the body count. But
No, but seriously, if you, exactly that one moment, like Superman
even
killing Lois, and that is not a spoiler. That has been out in the freaking video game for almost 10 years now. So.
and if anyone didn't see it, like the people that didn't know about Omni Man doing the complete destroy walkthrough of the rest of the Guardians of the Globe, you get the same kind of thing, seeing Superman do this to Lois and then do
Dude,
that
can you
to
imagine
Joker.
that being the first episode
Oh
and
my
it ending
god!
like that? Dude, like it
But
needs to be a series.
even if it doesn't be a series, Clay, it needs to be like multiple movies because it took like it's. I'm only on.
You know what?
I've appeared on Word Faunus 3 times. We've only got through 3 years, and each episode's been at least an hour and a half. So if
Give
you're
me
doing comics and game,
give me a starting movie that turns into a series.
ooh, I like that too.
Give me that.
But
Give
now
me
this is just information we got. Like this isn't there was no release about this. This was just a little bit tacked on information. So, like you said, there's still time for them to like get their wits about it and look at how popular Invincible was and be like, okay, we can do this exact same thing. Like we can put in a series like this, and this is the exact medium that we can go the same places that Invincible's gonna.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. But the last part of our animation talk, this was very surprising. There is going to be a new Batman the Animated Series called what is it called? I had it right here.
Cape Crusader.
Yeah, Batman the Cape Crusader. So Bruce Timm is going to be attached to it. Matt Reeves is going to be attached to it. And J.J. Abrams, all three of them are going to be executive producers on this series. Now, we have no idea if Bruce Timm, from what I can tell, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't know if Bruce Timm is in charge of animation or art. Like we don't know. Now, this could just be a mock-up drawing to be like, hey, this is how we presented it, but not necessarily how we're going to publish it. So, because the image that you see behind us is what was pushed as the announcement image. So, for one, I think it's awesome that Matt Reeves is attached to this. Basically saying, hey, I am making the Batman movie. I am really enjoying Batman as a character, and I want to be more involved in Batman things, so I'm going to be on this as well. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh my God, yes! If that's the case, then it gets me even more excited for his Gotham series as well. If you're going to pay this much attention to everything, maybe this ties into that. Who knows? Like because what they talked about beforehand, before the Discovery deal, was we want everything to interconnect except Zack Snyder stuff, multiverse except for Zack Snyder stuff. So this could tie into that. I think with Bruce Timm on board, there's at least a 25% chance we may get Conroy back as the voice. So fingers crossed on that, because I mean,
and that was a conversation that I was having with several people. Because right before we recorded here today, on last Saturday, I recorded with my co-host for Batman News Weekly. We talked about this as well, and I'm going to present the same question that I presented him, and I also presented to Snell on Geekverse. So, Travis, do you think that Conroy should hang up the cape and cowl, or should he return? He is getting on up there, I want to say his 60s or 70s.
70s is probably a better bet, I think.
And unfortunately, he has been shoehorned in as the Batman. Like, he has not really done anything else. I think if you go to his IMDb, he tried to get out of the realm of DC Comics of Batman or whatever, probably right after the animated series, and then DC just kept wanting him back. WB kept on wanting him back, and so he kept returning. So I personally think that it is time for this new generation. Also, this show is also going to be pushed on Cartoon Network simultaneously with HBO Max.
65.
Okay, so he's mid-60s. I think it's about time that a new generation gets a Batman. What are you shaking your head for?
Because
Hashtag not my Batman.
No. I'll watch it if they cast what's his name, the Carrot Top as Batman. I'll watch it. Don't mean I'll like it, but I'll watch it. But we have potential for a new Batman for the next generation in the animated movie universe, because it's clearly all going to connect to Man of Tomorrow, and we're getting Long Halloween, and Jensen Ackles is going to voice Bruce. So I think that you can do both. I think that you should reward Kevin Conroy for having to do stuff like Justice League Action and stuff like that, instead of like having to do it. He's never gotten to do any real sort of serious voice acting for Batman minus Killing Joke, really. So I would love to see him. I would love for this to be a little bit more grittier, grounded take. I would also love for him to be a voice. I'm fine with him being someone else. Like, I was just shaking my head because when you said like the voice for a new generation, they're having a chance at that right now. They had
they are getting a choice, but it's only for possibly, I'm going to throw out a number, 4 movies. Those are just movies.
Yeah,
we had Kevin Conroy for almost 30 years.
But no, not exclusively. No, so that's not fair. He's the Batman had a different person being Bruce Wayne for 4 seasons.
Yes. So Reno Romano, I would also appreciate him coming back if he wanted to.
So Jason O'Mara's done between 5 to 10 movies. You also have Bruce Greenberg's done Young Justice, and he's done a movie of his own, The Red Hood, probably the most
Kevin
popular.
Conroy has been Batman for 90% of the time for 30 years.
I still think that like you've given other people chances for the voice, and people just keep coming back. Clay, there's going to be a point in time where we can't use him as the voice anymore. I think that day may come, and that'll be okay. But
and I'm not going to wish him death whatsoever. He is a golden soul, and I don't want anything to happen to him. But Tom, crap, what's his name? The guy who does the mini voices in the Clone Wars. Yeah. He just recently had, I believe it was a stroke, and he can no longer voice act, or at least for his time of healing, he has not been able to work. Like, God forbid something happens like that to Conroy, but like, it's gonna get to a point where maybe his vocal cords get shot, and
then he'll be out. They'll take him like Old Yeller. They'll take him like a cat. Travis, they'll open up the door.
You let him leave while he's on top. Don't let him leave while he's freaking crawling out of the freaking grave.
You know what? They're not going. Okay, no, they're not going to have him doing it on ventilator or anything like that, like, or big sick or anything like that. But like, he's perfectly capable. It's just this is you. I know you're not a big sports guy, but a lot of sports broadcasters. There comes a point in time where that's it. They're done. They're toast. They can't get names right of people. They're like a couple steps behind, and that's it. You got to take them right back and let them free, like a cat, to go off in the wilderness and let their career die. And that will happen to. There will be a time where Kevin Conroy will not be there as Batman. But I guarantee you, even if you had an open audition, there's no way he's not coming out of that at least top 3. I feel like he's still got a great Bruce Wayne and Batman voice. Like if he was doing a bad job, like if I watched something that I feel like he didn't put his effort into, I would be right there waiting. But that's not the case. So I still love his voice, and the funny thing is, there's not a Batman voice that I don't like. Like, I've enjoyed O'Mara's, I've enjoyed Greenwood's, I've enjoyed. I can't even remember who does the voice now for the Batman. It's driving me crazy. Nathan, when you hear this in the morning, you're going to be like,
the Batman?
Yeah,
it's Reno Romano.
Yeah, sorry, you said that earlier. So I enjoyed all their voices as well. So, like I said, I'm
I
fine with it, but I think your whole thing of like it's time because he's too old. I don't think that is valid yet. Yeah, anyway.
So I got a question for you because we did kind of tease it in the beginning of the episode, and you kind of said that it might be going this route anyway. So the show has the feeling that it might be an anthology and not necessarily a starting from point A to
Yeah.
point B story. If that is the case, if they are going anthology, would you be against a different Batman actor for every episode?
No. Oh God, no. I'm not Clay. I'm not against anything. There's things I would prefer over the other, but as long as whoever's behind this, whatever idea they came with, they're allowed to do. That's fine by me. I may enjoy it. I may not. I'd prefer it to be an anthology series filling in a lot of the gaps from Batman the Animated Series to Batman Beyond. That's what I would prefer it to be. We heard rumors of a Batman the Animated Series revival. That's the kind of thing I don't want. Like four
Oh, see,
seasons
no,
of Batman the Animated Series.
I
I just
think
want,
this is
yeah.
that though.
If
This is
that's the
definitely that.
case, then I would love for us to get an anthology series from Batman the Animated Series up until Batman Beyond, filling in some of the blanks, including Justice League stuff, because like that elevated Kevin Conroy even more, in my opinion. The Justice League stuff, I felt like that
Yeah.
just pushed into a stratosphere that no other voice actor has gotten to. No offense to Mark Hamill, but his Joker was few and far between, whereas Conroy was a constant for. Oh, I can't even count the episodes. Like Clay said, it's so much. I tried to put it like I could name the other stuff, but that's it because everything else is Conroy.
Yeah. But also, like, I will say this. If you are on the fence for a movie or a series to be an anthology, I recommend you go watch Batman Gotham
Yeah,
Knights.
yeah.
It is my favorite animated movie. It has different animation for every story that is told. And you get some crazy stories.
He goes
I
up
think,
against Deadshot, Killer Croc. I remember every one of those. There's 6. I love
and
them.
it's so cool because there is like 3 or 4 that if like you pay attention, they may actually be all part of the same story
Yeah.
because they have one thing that connects them all.
And I think Scarecrow's in one. I'm pretty
Yes,
confident. And he's like
Scarecrow.
this. He's like stuff out of nightmares in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites is the first story where like there's 4 kids
Yes, I was just
that
going
are
to say. I've heard a
they
lot of people crap on that one.
there's 4 kids, 3 of which saw Batman fighting a robber or somebody with like a whole big thing of tech, and they talk about each interaction, but they all have this like crazy idea of who Batman is. And so like this one kid is like super bummed out because he didn't get the chance to meet Batman. But then at the very end of all 3 of their stories, those 2, Batman and this other person, their fight finally gets to where they're at this like skate park. And so the kid actually gets to see Batman. Like that is my favorite. Out of all of them, that is probably one of my favorites. And then the other one is when Batman is in the sewer and he's like bleeding and he's recalling when he was training. I think
Yeah.
it's something like "Get Through the Pain" or something like that. Is the title of the episode?
Makes note to self: get Clay for Gotham Knights because he's extremely passionate about it.
Yeah, it's a great,
Oh my God, is it
great
ever?
movie.
And DC doesn't do those as much as they did once upon a time. Those one-shot animations, even that was a one-shot in its own right, really, because it's not your average normal length of animated movie for one story. Like it's broken up, like you said, it's an anthology. And you have those other mini ones, like you have the Spectre one, you have oh my God, the guy, the cowboy guy. I'm trying to remember the old Western sheriff. I don't know. He was on Legends. I can't remember it now. It'll drive me crazy.
But
Whatever. But he was an anthology. They have all these little like mini stories, 10-minute stories that are really great.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think my favorite animation is, like I said, the one where he's bleeding in the sewers. There's one where he has like this really cool like tech suit, which actually made its way into one of the video games. And then there is the animation that where Deadshot is in there on the train. That's probably like another great
When
animation.
Batman slices his god, yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
And it was
story.
Jonah Hex. Jonah Hex is who I was trying to think of. He
Oh,
has
okay,
his own
yeah,
little
yeah.
thing too. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
good. So,
Oh yeah, because they were doing the animated shorts during that time.
really good.
Again, we're gonna go ahead and take our second ad break. Again, don't choose the ads, don't choose the volume. Turn it down just a little bit. Gonna give you a 3 count, and then we'll be back. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And we are back. So we dealt with the rumor, we dealt with the animation that's going on within WB, HBO Max, Warner Media. Let's go ahead and talk some movie news. The one thing that we learned, like almost immediately after, well, I would say like a day or two after we went live last time, we learned that Jason Momoa actually wrote the mock story for Aquaman 2.
Yeah, the first treatment, I think.
Yeah.
So he'll get his first writing credit on this, which listeners, this is like old Hollywood 101 here, where your star of your franchise has a very successful first movie. He gets other things in the next movie, like executive producer things and writing credit here. Not saying he didn't do the job, because he really loves
it's
character.
not necessarily, I will say this, because I will defend this part. Freaking Marco Robbie did that with Birds of Prey.
Oh yeah, same thing. Same thing.
So it all depends on how successful you are.
Exactly, Clay. That's the major thing.
Yeah. And especially when you make the first $1 billion DC movie, they're going to say, hey, do you want to do anything on this next movie? Like, I'm sorry.
And I mean, when you put out a fake Frosty story that has this person attached to it, you probably might want to bend over backwards and let this person do anything this person may want when he's a $1 billion franchise guy.
You will not let that go.
Oh no, that story was nonsense. That movie's never getting made, Clay. Like, come on.
No, I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying that is something. It's almost like me and Joe having to mention Mortal Kombat at least once in every podcast. You have to mention the Snowman story. Yeah. So we talked about Jason Momoa. Now the other surprising news that we got. Well, we'll wait on that. One thing I will say is we were getting this news of a possible casting for Green Lantern, aka Alan Scott. There was a lot of like hearsay, like, this may be true. We're gonna go ahead and put this name out there because we're kind of confident in this. And it actually ended up kind of being true because the Illuminati put it out there first, and then Variety started to push this. Now, this actor I am not familiar with whatsoever. His name is Jeremy Irons. He's going to be playing Alan Scott. Now, this guy looks very young. Oh, Chris says, what's Mortal Kombat? Don't get me started.
You won't know what Mortal Kombat is from watching the movie because that never actually happened. So, yeah, let's move on.
So, Jeremy Irons, he looks, like I said, very young. When I see Alan Scott, I always see him in the sense of the Justice Society. Yes. So he's usually around that 30 to 50-year-old individual. Now, this may be the magic of how, the last few generations have gone, but it feels like the older, like with every new generation, age is just like beauty. Because people are getting older, but they're looking a lot younger. That's just the way it of course, it's also called plastic surgery, but with people who are naturally just like healthy and things, they are able to look younger for a lot longer. So Jeremy Irons, I'm looking at 30. He's 30 years old. So, I mean, I guess he technically is within that range of what I usually see him as in comics. He just doesn't look it. He looks super young. So it's going to be interesting. So he is known for Warhorse, Mamma Mia, and Railway Man. I'm not familiar with anything on his filmography
One thing I do
whatsoever.
like though is that he's a stage actor as well.
Okay.
So from reading, which is something that I enjoy because you usually get your best comic book characters or people that give the most to it coming from that medium.
That's
Trying
true.
to say, just independent stuff. Really, he dropped 25 pounds for a role, and yeah, that's. I don't know him from anything, but he kind of has a little bit of the look to me. But you are right. Honestly, Clay, if I didn't have the year in front of me, I would have said he was 20. So
Yeah, he
like
looks super young.
his IMDb page, like his IMDb headshot, like he's not doing him any justice if he's trying to look at all older, because he looks like 12 there. So yeah, I don't know anything about the actor, but for the casting, I'm right there with you. I've only ever seen him in the throes of JSA things, so I've never
Yeah.
seen him off on his own. Or I would love it's just a story of him being the first Green Lantern. I just of the Earth, or first human Green Lantern of Earth. I just like to see that,
Yeah.
uh, just see what it was like. I don't know what comic like story they're going to go with him with, but uh, I'm excited. I'm just glad we're getting these casting news, which means we're going to start filming pretty soon if this stuff is starting to come out now.
And I am peeking through my other monitor here on the corner. I see Chris just posted in our chat. Mark your calendars. The Flash season 7 finale is July 20th.
My calendar will not be marked. I'm sorry. It's really frustrating because I love it. I'm glad for anyone who still loves those shows. Like I see Ryan Useless Ryan Uselessman tweeting about how much he's enjoying it. This is what my biggest pet peeve is. Anyone that has the same mentality as me about Flash going into his tweet and telling him how terrible it is and how crappy it is and how it sucks. No, I think that right now, but let him enjoy it. I can go on and talk about other things that I like. So,
well, I will say this, because one thing we didn't put in our show notes or anything, we share a lot of news stories throughout the week to kind of give us a rough outline of what we'll be talking about every single week. We actually didn't see, we didn't talk about the Flash or Bart Allen.
oh yeah, we talked about that last. No, we didn't talk about that last week.
We talked about him being introduced into the show,
Yeah.
but we didn't talk about how this brand new like professional photo shoot came out with him as Bart Allen, and man, people have opinions on it.
They have opinions on anything. The only thing that I will ever, only thing that will be in full agreement is that Spartan's helmet was absolutely pointless and stupid in Green Arrow. In Arrow, I think that's a fully like it just looked like Magneto's helmet. Like it was, it just I don't know. That was probably one of the stupid things. But I have had no costume complaints, and especially like when you watch Superman and Lois and the new costume designer they've gotten for everything. I think that it'll look good when we watch it on TV. It might not look good there now. And
Yeah,
Chris,
no, like there's this very famous,
once every 5 episodes.
I say famous photo. It's literally, I think, 3 years old, so it's not that famous. The artist is not Williamson. That's the writer. Howard Porter. Howard Porter is a very famous Flash artist. So he wrote this story around the Flash War that came out between Wally West and Barry Allen in Flash Rebirth. If you want to read it, it's on DC Universe Infinite. And at the very end of that issue 50, Bart Allen comes running at the page, and it's like, holy crap, this is the first time we're seeing Bart Allen in years. They recreated that photo. It doesn't look great whatsoever because people do not run like that in real life. It's the same issue people were having with Barry Allen, aka freaking oh my gosh, I forgot the actor's name for
Ezra.
Ezra Miller for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack did talk about how it's more like ice skating, the fluid
Speed
movements,
skating,
and speed skating and all of that. This is just trying to recreate a photo, and the proportions are just awkward. You could legitimately, like, if I don't know how comfortable those suits can be, and I don't know if you would be, I'm sure professionals can get an action shot. I would have just told him, hey, run towards the camera as fast as you can with keeping a serious or like happy face, because you're supposed to be a younger, more joyous character. That's what I would do. I would try to make it look convincing for an audience that, from what I have seen on Twitter, is majority hating this series. Get them to want to come back, and that photo is not wanting them to come back. Now,
even a ready set pose, like a ready on your mark get set pose, like that would be far better than what we got there.
Our co-host for Marvel Alliance did show us another photo of just a regular behind the scenes with the actor just like taking a photo in the mirror. That made him look so much better than the professional photo did. And you're right. When you actually see it in person, as far as the actual show, it's going to look better, because people unfortunately think, oh, we need to add this effect to the picture, and we need to add this Photoshop here, and we need to edit this glamour, and just do all of these other things that make the photo look very awkward. So, that's that. But again, going back to HBO Max, what did you think about this Batgirl news?
Finally, because this has been waiting for a while, I have not yet had a chance to see Bad Boys for Life.
It was basically it was a return of these two actors.
I love the first two, so
it was them trying to make the Bad Boys franchise into Fast and the Furious. That's what it is.
No. Oh no! Don't say that to me, Clay. I don't like the Fast and Furious franchise has gotten superheroes. So,
that's exactly what Will Smith wants to be, though. Like
I find it really funny.
There's an ending that kind of like shows that Will Smith is wanting the franchise to go to that way.
My. Okay, I may not watch that then, but no, yeah, and they're doing Miss Marvel too. So I guess you got some in-demand, successful pins. Even though Bad Boys for Life might not have been good story-wise, it was successful. It did quite well, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it did.
Its release, yeah. So a smart call here. Seems like this is the best way to get it off ground, and there's nowhere to go from the previous person attached to this project.
Correct. But I want to ask you also, because there is a lot of conversation going on about why they chose male directors to push this movie. Now, this is original movie that is going on HBO Max. This is not a movie that is going out into theaters. This is a original HBO Max movie. So a lot of people have suggested maybe it's because the last two female directed movies, and this is not my opinion, this is what I've been reading, this is what I've been trying to get the opinions of other people so that way I can see what other people are thinking. They're suggesting that the last two women directed movies for DC have not been quote unquote successful. And so because of that, they're wanting to go in a different direction.
That's a bit of a discrimination there, but we're also talking about WB, so yes, I mean, can't rule it out. I would like to say no. I don't think that, because especially these two people are not doing this project until after Miss Marvel, I would imagine. So
which has already wrapped.
Which you hired them to do Miss Marvel, so that's a female thing. So, if you complained about them doing that, then yep, okay, you can line up and complain about them doing this. But if I didn't hear any gruff or anything from you about that, I don't want to hear anything about them from this, because I just don't. I think Birds of Prey unfortunately had the COVID miss. coming up towards it. That's not successful. What was the other DC film?
Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh yeah, oh god, that was. I can't defend that. That was a dumpster fire, in my opinion. Just especially compared to the first one. I wish I could defend that, but I can't. But even then, it was successful. So
Yeah.
I don't think that
And we also have to remember,
yeah.
Christina Hodson is still attached to this. She is still writing the script. And Christina Hodson has been a very, very, very prominent writer for almost all of the DCEU films after Shazam.
Yeah.
So like it's crazy how much she has been attached to almost everything.
She's major into the Flash, right?
Yeah, she is writing for the Flash. She's writing for this. I believe I can't remember if she's attached to anything after that though. So, but her name has been around for a while. So, having her stick around, I think that is at least fair and not just completely wiping the slate clean for this movie,
True. Okay, I have a trio of live action things I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
To get your quick thoughts because, first off, which I didn't share, we have a release date for Titans season 3 in August. We got the whole barrage of people saying, here. So are we both under the same agreement of they got to stick this landing? Like that's all we really concerned about. Like
I told our chat I am going to watch the second episode moving forward, and then I'm gonna stop right before the finale, because I do not trust them. No, I'm partly joking when I say that. I will watch the entire series, but and I am being 100% serious, if they don't stick the landing on the pilot and the finale for a third time, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times, I am not being fooled a fourth.
Hey, Clay.
Not going to happen.
Hey, Clay. Season 4 of Titans is going to have Blue Beetle.
I don't care. I love Beetle, but if you ruin another third finale with some stupid BS like you did last time with Wonder Girl, and well, I'm not going to jump into spoiler territory, but there's some stuff out there. So just going to throw that out there. If you want to throw that crap out there again, no, not doing it. I didn't do it. Like I haven't stuck around for any of the CW stuff. So why would I stick around for the HBO Max stuff? That's turning out to be just as bad.
Fingers crossed that they actually stick this. But I'm in full agreement with you here. I still, when I think about Titans, I do think about Nightwing's costume first for about 3 seconds before a white hot rage takes over my mind when I think about that giant electrical tower falling and then Wonder Girl having to catch it, where Superboy just stood there impotently, just looking around, not doing anything.
And also the fact that I understand Dick Grayson is like the happy Batman, but saving Superboy with the power of love, like this isn't the Flash. Like, stop it. Like, we're not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. They need to get their stuff together.
Someone should have got Gar out of his thing first, and then Gar should have got to Superboy because they spent so much time together in the previous couple episodes. That probably would have made a bit more sense than this person that Superboy never met before just coming on in through the walls and helping out. So Clay is not right there, but let's hope they just stick it out. And
so what were the other 2 live action stuff you were talking about?
I don't know anything about this, but Naomi has been picked up. Ava DuVernay's DC CW show. I don't think it's going to be connected to DC CW. So that is the one, and the one that was declined was Painkiller was not picked up. The spinoff for Black Lightning, which means the Black Lightning universe ends for this season.
After Black Lightning, yeah. So this actually goes into one of the questions that we had this week. So let's go ahead and lobby that question into this conversation with Naomi and Black Lightning. It was John. He says the CW seems to be changing things around a bit. Kind of seems like they are moving away from the team ups and a connected multiverse in favor of shows that stand on their own. What direction do you think they're heading, and do you agree with it? So, Travis, I'm actually going to let you go first because you have at least stuck with some of the CW stuff, more than just one show. So I'll let you go ahead and handle this one first, and then I'll take a stab at it.
I just gotta take a swig of what started it, and I gotta say I'm really at my end with a lot of DCCW shows now. I feel like Superman and Lois is great, but it has nothing to do with connectivity. But I also think that I don't know if they're going away from the connectivity and the shared stories. I think it's just a COVID situation. They can't do that. You can't bring in three different shows and then, let's say, hypothetically, Tyler Hoechlin comes over on Flash, and then Tyler Hoechlin gets sick and goes back to Flash. It goes back to Superman and Lois. Then Superman and Lois is shut down for several weeks until he recovered from COVID. So I think COVID thing, they've already come out and said that's the reason they're not doing any crossovers, anything like that. So this, it could be the smart way to go. I feel like it's not. I feel like there's a couple of bad decisions. I don't know how many shows are going to survive after next season. So, but that could be part of their plan too. They may have to thin some things out now. They may have gotten too big. They may have ballooned too much, and then they just have so many shows that are just mediocre. So you might have to cut a few. You might have to get rid of a few. See the Flash going, even though that's still probably their best rating show, minus Superman and Lois, obviously. But I can't believe I'm say it. I don't really care about DCCW anymore, and it's so sad because I was waving DCCW fat flag for. But now I could get back into it, but Superman and Lois is the only thing. I haven't seen anything to make me think that that's super connected to the other universes yet.
Here's how I'm going to answer this. Destroy it, freaking blow it up, do whatever you need to. I always thought that because of HBO Max, DCCW needs to be put down. Like old Yeller, just like how Travis says. Now, I will say the popularity of Superman and Lois and the lack of connectivity could very easily be the start of your new connected universe through HBO Max. I will say this, Naomi. I saw the behind the scenes photos that Ava posted today. They look great. It is, the cinematography does not look like anything in the DCCW. Again, showing that more money has been put into this show and quite possibly HBO Max worthy. Because one thing, I don't know if you've read the Naomi series. I'm not a huge fan of Bendis, but the series had a really cool start. I will say the supporting cast is probably a little bit more appealing to me. But whenever I see Naomi in the comics and I see this character playing Naomi in the show, it looks like a huge age gap. It's almost the exact opposite of what we got in Stargirl. So in Stargirl, you look at the character Stargirl and you're like, oh, she's an older teenager. She looks like she could team up with the Justice League and all of this. Then we look at the actress. The actress is 20 years old, but she looks like she's 13.
Yeah.
It's just very, very odd, you know? So I think John, you are right. They are going in a different direction. We will see how that goes when Naomi either bombs or is a success. Because if that is a success, they will keep going in that route and stay separated for the time being. I think the idea of the DC CW ending, in my mind, with Infinite Crisis ends in quite possibly the greatest way. just seeing the Justice League sit down at the round table. Like that is just like how the Batman for 4 seasons ended, the
Yep.
creation of the Justice League. So I think that is a really cool ending. Don't beat a dead horse. And like I said, if worse comes to worse, make a connective universe in HBO Max with no strings attached. CW is partly owned by, what is it, CBS, right?
Yeah.
It's CBS and WB.
Yep.
They're putting money into that. If you go to Warner Media, you're putting all of your money into it, meaning you have the creative control, meaning CBS cannot decide, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and make a Powerpuff Girl show. Like, no, like you have the range to do whatever you can with this connected universe. And I know Powerpuff Girls was so bad that it is now getting a rework, apparently. And they have to refilm probably their pilot and everything else. So
we have another question that you almost segued perfectly into with that Powerpuff Girls little slight dig there.
Oh yeah, Tony's question.
Yes.
So I'm only gonna do that question because he did do 2.
Yeah.
We will get to his second question after this. Tony said if they did a Powerpuff Girls crossover with another DC show on the CW, what show would you want them to cross over with? It would have to be Stargirl.
Nope. I got it. I got your answer. It's going to have to be The Flash because there's no way that can't be the final nail in the coffin of that show. Like after
you're like, hey, we want to kill the Flash's show, so we're just gonna cross it over with another horrible show.
No, there's no way it can survive crossing over to Powerpuff Girls. It's impossible. I just need it to be. This show is so dear to me. Like even the 3rd season, first 3 seasons are so enjoyable for me. But yeah, I thought of that earlier when I read Tony's question, and I was like, yep, I know exactly what I'm going to say because, yeah.
Well, I'm going to take it a little bit more seriously. And if it had to cross over with any show, it'd have to be Stargirl.
Legends. You could do Legends of them going to.
You could do Legends, but there would just be too much chaos.
Oh my god, it would be like
because I feel like Legends would actually know them as the Powerpuff Girls, but as the cartoon, and then they would like break the fourth wall too many times.
They'd be just circling each other in madness. It'd be just madness,
and I couldn't deal with that. No. So I think Stargirl would probably be the best. And I guess we're just going on to listener questions because we were answering all of these questions.
Both of those really work well with show, and that just goes to show how A+ of podcasters we are, because Snell's question went perfectly with what our topics in the first section. So we're just a little all over the place here. But yeah, I think we should just transition into the last couple of listener questions.
Well, Tony's question, his second question is, what spinoff would you want to spin off of Injustice? So Injustice is becoming a movie, like we said. If there had to be a spin-off movie off of the Injustice movie, what would you want?
I would love to do something with John Constantine from before, for the time before we see him until the time we do. But I think the one that would have the best chance of getting made is just the Flash's redemption from when he like turns on Superman at the end of year 5 to afterwards, like in the game, you see that he's like trying to make penance for that. The second game, sorry. So just see something like that where he has to like he's trying to win back not only like his favor with other heroes, but with the public in general, who all think he's like a piece of crap right now. So I'd like to see something like that.
I would like to see a Nightwing Deadman.
Ooh, very, very good, sir. That's a very I never even thought about that. That would be a great.
Because I was almost going to say I would like to do the alternate timeline, but the alternate timeline is literally just the regular DC universe. So no, I want to see a Nightwing Deadman series.
There's only Bruce is in jail and Joker's dead because he killed him. Yeah. Still was such a great that hug through the glass.
Yeah.
Chef kiss.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So Travis's questions. He says, well, I guess we kind of already answered this. He says, just based off the art style, what villain do you want to see the most
No,
in the Caper Stater? We didn't answer that, but then
no.
he did ask, do you also want it to follow one big story or episodically like an anthology?
I'd like for it to be both.
I would love, just because, again, people, you're not going to hear me not say this or not compare anything to it. I am a manga addict. I am an anime head. I'm a weeb, whatever you want to call it. I love my anime and I love my manga. In the shonen animes, there is a concrete story, meaning, hey, this is what happens, and we have to defeat this person to end our A to B plot. With Batman the Animated Series, you never got that whatsoever. It was episodic. It was one episode by episode. Sometimes you would get the two-parters, but you never got an overarching story. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this. It might actually be pretty hard to do that with a Batman story. And the reason why is because there's such a vast amount of villains. You would have to choose one, be like, okay, this villain is going to be season 1, right? And for example, Tom King wrote this story called The War of Jokes and Riddles. What that was about was Joker and Riddler were going head to head, and then they hired a whole bunch of other famous villains to basically just get into this giant super villain war in Gotham. That would just be like too overwhelming for an animated series. So you would have to choose one villain and then do an overarching story about it. Well, these villains don't necessarily have like henchmen that are like super famous to be like, okay, this is really going to cause a problem for Batman. Because Batman is smart. He's a detective. He's going to go straight to the source, which is whatever villain it is. So with that, I think it'll be harder to do an overarching story, but I think I would appreciate it more if they did so.
I think they'd be fools not doing an overarching story. I think that you could do Court of Owls thing where you could get your villains for every episode, and Batman doesn't even know that there's a whole thing going on until closer to the end of the season. And you can have Court of Owls being the ones that pay these villains or hire these villains, and you could have all that being shown towards the end of the season. That could be your thing. That's the thing I'd rather, because like you said, we have a Batman the Animated Series where there was no big story; it was just episodic. So I would, like you said, I would appreciate if they do the different thing this time.
So his first question, based on the art style, again, we don't necessarily know the art style, but we do know what this art style is, which is like right behind us. Like I said in this YouTube video, this is just the promo art. So based off this promo art, what villain would you want to be in this show the most?
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze?
Yeah.
I would have to say that I probably would want. Oh shoot! This is a hard question. I thought I had it, and I just don't know. You know what? I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna say Anarchy.
Oh wow! I thought you would go Scarecrow, but
no, because again, I don't want to choose the main 5. I don't want to go Riddler. I don't want to go Penguin. I don't want to go Joker. I don't want to go Scarecrow. And I don't want to go Mr. Freeze. Those are the 5 go-tos for every single person to ever write any Batman story ever. It's those 5, and it's always.
That's why I don't get any Clayface villain stories. Okay.
I would love a Clayface story. I would love a Clayface movie in live action. But people don't want to do it because, it's going to cost too much money for CGI, and I want to be generic, and I want everything to look realistic. This is a comic book character. Comic books are not realistic. They're wacky, and there is a reason why people say, that's too comic booky. Of course it is. It's from a comic book, people. Come on now.
We do have one final question from Joe.
Technically, we have 2 questions because I did write down Brent's question from earlier this week.
Okay, well, I'll give the Joe question first, which is...
Go ahead and read Joe's question.
Do you think we will ever get a DC and Marvel crossover again? Do you think it's possible for a live action crossover? I don't know for the Marvel DC crossover, but I know it will only happen in comics if it does happen. And it may be you may need some sort of charity event type thing for to get that together, like all proceeds go to such and such. But I don't see it happening.
So, I don't know if I'm going to have the time to bring it up on my screen here, but in the what was it called? Doomsday Clock series, written by the disgusting Jeff Johns. There was
Lebanese American disgusting
Lebanese American racist Jeff Johns. He wrote a at the very end. He did write something that teased a Marvel and DC crossover in an actual timeline that would actually meet real time in like 2022 or 2023. This had people screaming like, holy crap. He mentioned Hulk. He mentioned Thor, not by name, but by descriptions.
Yeah.
Not even a month later, Donny Cates starts writing Thor, and he talks about this darkness consuming other worlds, and he references the Justice League. This got a lot of people talking on whether Jeff Johns and Donny Cates were legitimately trying to do a crossover. As long as they do not use the actual licensed names, they can do these teases all they want, you know? And technically, both DC and Marvel have characters with the name of Thor. So they can use that name,
yeah,
but they can't use the actual character, you know?
Yeah.
So will it ever happen? I'm not going to say no, but I'm also going to say it's probably not going to happen before I'm 50 years old.
No.
I think it'll take quite some time. And like you said, if there was a lot of money involved, and yeah, you can say a charity, but I just think it's more about the money.
Yeah. I just think public pressure might get them if you got both sides for a charity type deal.
Because here's the thing that a lot of people still need to remember. The reason Amalgam Comics was a thing, the reason why JLA versus the Avengers was a thing, the reason why Marvel versus DC was a thing was because both companies were about to go bankrupt. They needed to generate money. And so what did they do? They signed a few contracts and said, hey, let's make this happen. That's why you actually can't buy an Amalgam comic digitally, because they both technically have the rights to those characters, and they don't want to divvy out the money to each other. So they're just saying, hey, we will not sell this comic.
Greed.
It's greed. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. Now, as far as saying, will there ever be a live action crossover? No. Never. No.
Sorry,
it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same reason. These are too large of IPs. Too large. They would have to be owned by the same entity, which, again, from the very beginning of this episode, will never happen.
No, never.
So,
what you got for Brant? Hit me with Brant.
Brent's question for this week was, he actually copied and pasted basically a very popular question that was going around. Says, you get one chance to write a 6-issue series run, so a mini series, on one established comic book series. Which one is it? So think of your favorite comic book series, like a famous comic book run. So, for example, there is Frank Miller's Daredevil, or Tom Taylor's Wolverine, or Venditti's Green Lantern, or Williamson's Flash. Think of those types of runs and then think of a spinoff that you would do for just 6 issues. Do you have anything right off the bat?
I have something. I'm a huge fan of Injustice. I know that's not quite the groundbreaking, monumental thing, but I would have loved to do a mini-series about the Titans stuck in the Phantom Zone.
Ooh, I always thought that was very intriguing on how they survived, you know?
Yes, and it's such a kick in the nuts because you get Tim back for all of 20 seconds.
Yep.
And like he literally just says Batman needs a Robin. So
Yep.
I would have loved to see more Tim in the Phantom Zone leading the Titans trying to stay alive and what things they could encounter and not knowing about the madness going on outside on Earth.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that one. So I've had mine basically since the day Brent asked this question. So everybody knows the very famous Scott Snyder's Batman run, specifically the Court of Owls run. And I had to do some research because I had an idea, but I wasn't sure how it was going to work. And then I saw there is a very special character in the Batman mythos that actually wasn't introduced in the New 52 until almost a year, like when it was over. The last year of the New 52, going into Rebirth, Azrael was introduced into Batman. He was introduced in Batman and Robin Eternal. That was near the very tail end of New 52. And I was surprised that he was only introduced then and not earlier in the series, because these were brand new iterations of the characters, brand new origins, except for the exceptions of Green Lantern and Batman. But we all know that Azrael is an agent of St. Dumas, another organization, just like the Court of Owls. How in the world did Talon and Azrael not go face to face, trying to see who was going to be the new ruler of Gotham, while Batman is just standing there saying, hey, I'm still here. You're going to have to get through me. So it would be a 6-issue miniseries that ties in to the very beginning of the Court of Owls story, or kind of in the middle, so that way you know who the Court of Owls is. So it introduces Azrael as an agent of St. Dumas, and it is an all-out fight between the three to show who was on top to protect Gotham.
I really like that, Clay. I really like that idea.
Yeah. I was just amazed that Azrael was not introduced earlier in the New 52. I thought it was a very big mistake on DC's part. So
I'm surprised we didn't see him at all in any of the like DCAU either, like the New 52 style.
Yeah.
Like I figured, but you could like you could.
But that's probably why, because he wasn't really a prominent character until the very end of the New 52 stuff, which is what the animated series was really based off of.
Really,
so that's probably why. But we are going to be doing a comics corner, like
we are going to take one final ad break before we do. Listeners, we don't pick the ads or the volume. We're going to give you a quick 3 count to let you adjust the volume, and we'll be back shortly. 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Okay, Clay. Last thing of the night, DC Comics Corner. Batman 66 meets Wonder Woman 77. I'm excited to talk to you about this. I didn't realize Braz was in such hard shape. I thought they had their own pits, but not in this universe, I guess.
No, I actually had a lot of fun with this one. Again, we were, saying, we needed to see Batman and Wonder Woman actually interact with each other. This is where we finally get that. Of course, like always, we're going to read off the creative team here. Chapter 5, Batman 66, Wonder Woman 77, written by Mark and Draco and Jeff Parker, pencils by David Hahn, inker Carl Kessel, colorist Mad Pencil, with the letterer being West Abbott. So I was really confused here how they opened this up, but then I remembered, just because I am who I am and I haven't really watched the show in so long, or haven't even finished it technically. We're in a version of the Batwing with Catwoman, Robin, and Batman, and this is a completely different Catwoman. But that's because there was 2 actresses that played Catwoman in the show.
Nice
So I
little nod
actually
here.
do appreciate them playing off of that, because we got a
Yeah.
completely different Catwoman back in the first issue.
Yeah.
So I did appreciate that.
Unfortunately, this Catwoman still says perfect and
Yes,
all her
there is a
words.
lot of the cat puns here, but they actually brought her because in this reiteration of Paradise Island, men are allowed to be at the island, but only in the company of a female host
Yes.
or guide or whatever you want to call it. And Batman immediately starts calling them on the radio, and I'm just thinking, because of what I know of Paradise Island, I'm like, they don't have technology. So, or advanced technology as far as what we know, electronics and things like that. So I was like, what is Batman doing? He's not going to be able to communicate like this. And then all of a sudden, Wonder Woman comes flying in with the invisible jet, and she is the one that is monitoring radio waves, which I thought, okay, they were able to cover themselves in that way. Smart. I really did enjoy that. And then Wonder Woman makes this comment about Catwoman being, oh, you must be another great hero, just like Batman, because apparently news of Batman has even reached Paradise Island.
They have TVs and newspapers. I think she said newspapers. I know she said TVs for sure.
But she just Catwoman laughs it off and says no, and then even Batman says, "Oh well, I'm hoping that even you, Wonder Woman, will be able to change her mind someday." You know, because he sees a little bit of good in Catwoman. And so they get the grand tour, of course, of everything that is in Paradise Island.
And okay, the bottom panel is something I want to touch on. Robin gets undressed. People undress Robin with their eyes a hell of a lot in this chapter. I feel for Robin. He doesn't seem to be comfortable only with Wonder Woman. Seems like Wonder Woman is the only one that he's comfortable with.
See, you say that he gets undressed by their eyes in this. I actually think they are being really aggressive with him.
Yes.
In the sense of like, they don't appreciate him, because the comment is it true that you aren't respectful to women? And so they're not going at him like, ooh, a young man. They're going at him like, oh, that is like the bane of existence right now. And I know you're showing, yes, they're, well, I don't notice.
She's looking at him eating a chicken leg, and she's giving him, those aren't eyes of.
Oh yes,
yeah.
I'm seeing it now.
She's not giving him the you're mean to women eyes right there. She's not, and Robin needs a chaperone immetly. Where's Batman to? Batman,
I guess
Alfred.
I can see where you're going at that point. I do see where you're going with that point. But they are they're making comments at Catwoman, and Batman's talking about, oh, I heard the Amazons are like the strongest warriors the world has ever known, and Wonder Woman's saying, yeah, we are. And instead of deciding to conquer the world, we just decided to make our own peace on Earth, basically. Kind of rubbing it into everybody's faces.
Well, she says to be like the guiding point for the rest of humanity. It's like something to strive towards. But yeah, I think it's more your thing, Clay, where they're just rubbing people's faces in it. Yeah.
But they eventually, sit down to eat. They're getting acquainted with one another. And there is news of people are on the island and they have attacked some of the guards at the bay. So they all rush to go see what this is. And they say, oh, it was some men and a woman. And they went to this place called the Garatos or whatever it's called. So they all jump onto this boat and they're like, okay, let's go ahead and make our way here. And Robin is telling Catwoman they're going to have to row a boat because there's no wind. I didn't know this is something that either Paradise Island could do or Wonder Woman could do, but she prays for the winds of Zephyrus to help them. And all of a sudden, wind comes out of nowhere and they're able to sail away. So, again, just kind of putting in that 77-66 charm into the book, I think is something people can appreciate. Although it is a little, like I said before, things can be comic booky. It's a comic book, so it's going to work out,
Yeah. And she had Wonder Woman, especially in this and the 77 show, her powers are very ambiguous. Like, you don't know. Like, it's like Superman's brick eyes in Superman 3, where he rebuilds the Great Wall of China with his eyes. It's kind of like that. Like, her powers
and we will see another power that she had earlier in this series play a part again in the next issue. But they are talking about how Wonder Woman was a really big help back in the times of the war, and how possibly the world still needs her. And she's like, no, I only got them to where they didn't need me anymore, and then I had to come back to the island. She's reminiscing about Steve, and they finally get to the island, and Wonder Woman is warning them, like, hey, this is no joke. We're gonna have to go through here, and we may not survive. And Batman does make a point to be like, hey, we have a little beacon here. We're just gonna follow it, so that way we know the way out. So just throwing that in there, I'm sure it's gonna be played with later in the series. It's going to come back. But again, kind of like you were saying, a lot of people are undressing Robin with their eyes. Catwoman is still, playing, again, no pun intended, a game of cat and mouse with both Robin and Batman. She's teasing Robin like, hey, give me the flashlight. I don't want to hold this flame. And like, even Robin's like, no, this is mine. This is part of my crime fighting gear. I'm not just going to give it away to you. And like, even Batman's like,
you're a cat burglar.
Exactly. And even Batman is like, Robin, you need to be polite. Like, let her see the flashlight. And I'm like, come on. Like, why would you do this? Why would you give them the chance? You're right. She probably likes shiny things just like a cat. And so she's probably going to steal it.
At that point in time, I'm Robin. I throw the flashlight to Catwoman and say, fine, you pay for all this shit anyway. That's exactly what I would say. Like, because like you said, it doesn't. No, you keep the flashlight, Robin. You're the hero here.
So this again reminds me of Batman the Animated Series. We start to see walls move, and we're not entirely sure why. And Wonder Woman just remembers, oh yeah, I forgot to tell everybody. The corridors will always move, so that way the prisoners don't find a way out.
Also, surprised there's a gigantic griffin.
A gigantic griffin. This is the vibes of the episode If You Are So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? And we go into issue 6 of the series.
The Minotaur Maze, or
that's the episode. It's called If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich?
Yeah,
but that is the episode where Robin is like a pro at this video game, and he is the one that helps.
Hand of Fate, I think it is.
Yeah, and the Hand of Fate.
Yeah,
and we see here in the beginning of issue 6 that there is this giant maze, and I immediately thought of the animated series.
Same.
But this is where we see a very old Ra's al Ghul and a very much older Talia from what we saw in the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
And again, we see Batman and Wonder Woman fight off this griffin, but not necessarily fight off, because Wonder Woman has the power to talk to nature and to talk to animals,
which she does in the show as well.
Yeah, and she did it early on in this series with the bats that helped them find Bruce in the cave.
Yeah.
So Robin and Catwoman are fighting the Cyclops. A lot of bad puns.
Oh my god.
Robin was like, oh, what should I use? Bat Cyclops repellent? That's ridiculous. But as soon as he says that, Batman comes in flying on a griffin, and what does he use? He uses some sort of repellent, which I'm sure is Cyclops repellent.
Yeah, it's
So
just right on the nose there, Clay. It was funny because like sometimes I can picture this comic as this 66 show. So I was even growing sometimes in. So yeah, it's quite fun to see the both like Robin and Catwoman teaming up and Bruce and Batman and Wonder Woman is very enjoyable.
well, not only that, I was joking about it last week about how I'm sure we'll see some sort of shark repellent.
Yeah,
And
and
we didn't get shark repellent. We got Cyclops repellent.
pretty darn well. No, actually, I can't say pretty close, but just as absurd.
But we do get to a point where they are trying to reach who they assume will be Roz, and of course it is. He does get into the Lazarus pit, and he does come back young again.
He's also an ungrateful little shit because Talia was like, "Let me help you into the pool." And he's like, "Yes, I don't know what I'm doing. I got here." I'm just like, "You wouldn't have got there with her." Like,
yes, but he is somebody who is very, very prideful. We know this from every other reiteration of the character. So just having the chance to do this on his own is, he'll be able to say, "Oh, I was able to walk the pits of Lazarus on my own," while Talia is standing right there, like rolling her eyes, like, "Yeah,
let me throw a thank you."
Exactly.
Thank you every once in a while, or you'll have what happened to MODOK happen to you. So,
but that is the end of the 2 issues. That is already midway through.
yeah,
we have 3 more weeks, and we will finish the series, and then we will probably the week before our last. We will throw in another vote for our next Comics Corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm enjoying the series. Like I said, I'm not taking it too seriously because you can't take those reiterations of those characters seriously. It's going to be kind of wacky. It's going to be kind of crazy. And you have to appreciate the art for what they were,
Yeah, and Clay, I just close my eyes sometimes after reading a page, and I can picture that in the 66 TV show. So I love it. I'm having really fun time. Some things are absurd, like you said, the Cyclops repellent spray, but there's a lot of good nostalgia feels as well, and it's nice to see Batman and Wonder Woman from these 2 iterations team up together.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Maybe we can not every single week, but every other week or every other month or whatever, throw in another Batman 66 crossover in our.
I have another physical book, which is Batman 66 meets the Man from U.N.C.L.E. So,
very nice, very
I will
nice.
add that.
I actually haven't seen that one, so I'll have to add that one to my reading list. But with that, I think that covers it for our show. Just under 2 hours this time. We had a lot to talk about. We were actually thinking that we didn't have a whole bunch to talk about, and we were able to stretch it out a little bit.
Those questions were huge too. Thanks to everyone for the questions because they were like good to have discussions. Hope even the humorous answers you got a good laugh out of. I don't want Flash to cancel, but I thought that was really funny.
No, but of course, let's go ahead and let them know where we are and where we can be found. Of course, you can always find me on Twitter at FanboyClay. Go into the bio and you can find my link tree where you can find all the links to all of the shows that I am a part of, which include, of course, this show, DC Alliance Podcast, the Batman News Weekly podcast. Currently, my Comic Book Legion podcast is on hiatus. My co-host, Mark, is actually building his house at the moment, so he is wanting to get that in order, and then he can be fully focused on the comics. And right now, he is getting back into the groove of reading comics. Right now, DC is kind of at a standstill with how good or bad or kind of meh some books are. There are some books out there that are really fun to read right now. And so he's trying to get back into that groove. So that show will be back sooner rather than later. And then, of course, the Weird Science, Marvel, and DC podcast. I am a part of both of them. On the DC podcast, I do the digital spotlights. And on the Marvel podcast, of course, I talk with my buddy Jim, who is also a part of this network. And then, of course, there is the Ranger Alliance podcast, which we will have a new episode on the 31st of this month. We're going to be talking about the comics as well as always the TV show Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
How do you do it all, dude? I just don't know.
It's a good question. It's a very good question. I don't know how I do it either.
And secondly, I think from now on, I should be the first one to go with where they can find you, because my 2 podcasts, they just seem like sad to say now in comparison, especially since you co-host one of them. But yeah, you can find me. I'm just joking, obviously. You can find me at Twitter, Travis_156. Drop me a line. We can chat about DC anytime or pretty much anything. So apologies if people were watching live midway through this stream. I was watching the playoff game in the background. I muted volume, of course, closed captions, and my team won. So you may have got a thing for me for a second.
I was
there.
wondering what you were doing, and I was like, were you doing that to me or somebody in the chat?
I was trying to compose myself too, because they just had a chance that time ticked away, and then I just didn't want to shout or anything, so I tried to get a little celebration in. But yeah, I looked crazy there, like the 49-minute mark. So
that's hilarious.
That'll clear everything up. But yeah, you can find me there, and podcasts, DC Alliance, and Superhero Discussions. Just thanks for supporting the network as a whole. We love what we're doing, and I really can't wait to talk about the last Ronin, Clay.
That's going to be fun on Patreon.
Yeah,
you guys go support the Patreon, $5, and you can get that comics discussion. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. So see you next week, my friend. Same time, same bat channel.
Yes.
Okay. Later, everyone.